the picture of Donald Trump that comes out of the Democrat media 24/7 again, that comes out all the time, it's just different than real Trump. It's different than the real Trump. I mean, first of all, the stuff that he's talking about the minority numbers, the things that he has done for the minority communities in this country, if that's what we have to call them. I don't know why they're not just Americans, but we're always identifying them as minorities. He's done amazing things for those communities in terms of the economy, which kind of puts the lie to this whole racist thing, which is all we have heard is racist, racist, racist. They pushed that thing about, oh, there are fine people on both sides, until finally they had to admit, oh, yeah, we lied to you for 2 years. Now we just won't mention it again, but we'll keep saying he's racist. Two researchers at the University of Pennsylvania, Daniel Hopkins and Samantha Washington, set out to measure the effect of Trump's election on anti-Black and anti-Hispanic prejudice. And Americans, they say, have become less inclined to express racist opinions since Donald Trump was elected. Anti-Black prejudice, they found, declined by a statistically insignificant degree between 2012 and 2016 when Trump was elected. But then after 2016, when Trump was elected, it took a sharp dive. Anti-Black prejudice after Trump's election took a sharp dive that was statistically significant. Moreover, contrary to their expectations, the fall was as evident among Republican voters as it was among Democrats. There was also a general fall in anti-Hispanic prejudice, too, although this was more evident among Democrat voters. In other words, when you don't have a guy like Obama telling us that everything we do is wrong, that life is injustice, oh, we need to have a conversation about race, as if we haven't been talking about race for the last 50 or 60 years. When you don't have people doing that, we start to react to each other the way we're supposed to, which is as Americans, and it's going away. This is an effect of Donald Trump. So that's a fantasy. The fantasy that Trump is making racism worse, that he's bringing out from under the rock all the evil white supremacists, that white supremacism is a growing problem, which the numbers show that it is not. That is just, I mean, you know, you can not like Trump. You can say his policies are wrong. You can disagree with his policies. But I'm talking about fantasy. I'm talking about the difference between fantasy and reality. What you cannot say is that he's a racist or that he has acted in a racist way. You could say that Obama was a racist. He went for 20 years to a racist church. He convicted police officers without any evidence, calling them racist. He tried to take over local police forces with the feds on the grounds that they were racist when the numbers showed they weren't. You know, you could have said that. And you could say we all have glitches. We all have things that come out of our mouth. You can always pick and choose things. But in terms of his actions, in terms of his policies, I don't see how it's possible to make the legitimate argument that this is an actual racist guy. So Jeff Daniels is starring, and this is interesting in and of itself. Jeff Daniels is starring in a new play based on To Kill a Mockingbird. To Kill a Mockingbird, one of the favorite novels ever written, right, in America, one of America's favorite novels. I'm not that big a fan of it. I think it's very blunt, but okay, it's a favorite novel among people. So now they've brought it back as in a completely woke version. Terry Teachout, who's the excellent stage critic for the Wall Street Journal, right? They have rewritten this by Aaron Sorkin, and it is called Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird, a new play by Aaron Sorkin, all right? And in this, you remember To Kill a Mockingbird, the wise Atticus Finch defends a black man falsely accused of rape, right? And in his wisdom, he stands up against the bigots of the town. But in this, right, they've totally rewritten it. Aaron Sorkin, the leftist guy who wrote The West Wing and everything, he's totally rewritten it so that Atticus Finch is played as a fool, right, who doesn't understand just how bad. He says he's incapable of fully appreciating the total depravity of his racist friends and neighbors. A hookwormy gaggle of populism spouting gargoyles. I'm surprised they weren't wearing red MAGA caps with their KKK hoods, right? Atticus Finch has to be schooled by he has to be set straight by Calpurnia, his sassy, wised-up black maid. Instead, Atticus Finch, more or less realistically, is the white guy who stands up for the powerless black guy in a time of when the Democrats had brought Jim Crow to the South. So that is how they're, first of all, changing To Kill a Mockingbird, an American classic, a book that everybody loves, how they're changing it to reflect what their fantasy of what America is like, right? That anybody who's voting for Donald Trump is a racist, which is just so offensive. It's unbelievable, but also a fantasy. And here's Jeff Daniels talking about the people who vote for Trump.
After the election, I was surprised at some of the people. You know, I said, can you believe this election? They go, yeah, isn't it great? And you're going, whoa. My wife's on Facebook, and these go, oh, we got another Trumper, you know? And it's just, you didn't see it coming. Atticus goes through this. I know these people. They're good people. And there are reasons why. And he's an apologist. He's an enabler. And I think there are people in the Midwest, between the coasts, who don't know anything about it, who don't care about this, who don't have time for this, who have to make a decision now. You have to decide whether, like Atticus, you believe that there is still compassion, decency, civility, respect for others, do unto others. Remember that? Do unto others. All that stuff you guys believe in, and you still voted not for Hillary or for Trump. Where are you now? Because your kids are looking up at you going, but he lies. And I think there are a lot of people in the Midwest who are going, it might be enough for them. We're going to find out if the big gamble is to go all the way to November 2020, which I agree, and lose, it's the end of democracy.
So I love these people. It would be funny if they weren't so dangerous. But what he's saying is the big gamble is not to impeach Donald Trump, as if they had the power to impeach Donald Trump, which they might have the power to impeach him, but they don't have the power to convict him. So that's not going to help them any. So he says he agrees that they should do that. Take the big gamble and have a vote. But if they lose the vote, that's the end of democracy, because that's how democracy works. You take a vote, and then if you lose, it's not democracy. I mean, that is the left-wing fantasy. That is the left-wing fantasy. How is democracy dead if they take a vote and the left loses? It's an amazing, amazing fantasy. And meanwhile, you have to silence the opposition because they have this threat that reality is rising, that suddenly we're going to see some of the malfeasance from the Obama administration, the malfeasance from the FBI. And we haven't got proof of this yet, but even the investigation is something they don't. I mean, this is the way. Here's an example of how the left covers the investigation into how the FBI investigation into Trump got started.
Move on. Nothing to see here. Please disperse. Nothing to see here. Please.
And when one network, Fox, is covering it, what do you have to do? Because we're living in a fantasy. You got to silence anybody who is threatening that fantasy. It's an amazing thing to hear a network like CNN. And I mean, look, they could have said this in public, but luckily they said on CNN where no one's watching. But it's an amazing thing to watch people on CNN go in and not just say, I disagree with the people at Fox, but say this. Listen to this.
I think that Fox News is a corrupt enterprise. I think it is not a journalism company. It is a company was built by Roger Ailes in order to promote conservative Republican political ideas. And in prime time, they spread the kind of disinformation that actually worked with the Russians to sow dissent in this country. So I'm with her. I think the Democrats should avoid going on, because like they should avoid being involved with any other corrupt enterprise.
Well, it's a tough call, because the point you made earlier about how Fox can use these debates as a vehicle to go to advertisers and say, look, we are not just the racists and bigots in prime time. We are a real news organization. And that is I'm not sure Democrats want to give them that cover. I think that if you're going to not go on, that's the best argument.
I will.
Yeah, that's amazing, amazing stuff for colleagues to say about colleagues. Obviously untrue. Obviously, Fox is not a racist station. It does have two very right-wing commentators, Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham. They are on the right, but it also has a lot of Democrats, more Democrats than there are Republicans on CNN, more Democrats on Fox News than Republicans have walked by the CNN building, basically. So what are they doing? They're trying to prevent reality from coming.